Rob, what is our fourth and final main topic?
John, our fourth topic comes to us from Mike L. Multiple theater outlets have listed Wakanda Forever's runtime as 2 hours and 41 minutes. Amen. This would make it the second longest MCU film behind Avengers Endgame and 5 minutes longer than the previous second longest, The Eternals. Does this bode well for the film? Thanks, and bring on the filthy.
All right, thanks a lot for sending that in. And yeah, I have gone to both Cineplex and Regal sites, and they are both listing it at 2 hours and 41 minutes. By the way, there's a little bit of misinformation out there regarding this. Some outlets like Screenrant had accidentally listed that Cineplex and Regal are both owned by Cineworld. That is not true. Cineworld does own Regal. They do not currently own Cineplex, although they're involved in a legal fight right now. So just minor little detail there. All right. If true, and if both Cineplex and Regal are listing this runtime at 2 hours and 41 minutes, there's no reason not to believe it at this point. I mean, who knows? Maybe it's just maybe it's a wrong piece of information that got out there. They ran with it. But for right now, let's go with that. This is fascinating because, Taylor, what did we say the runtime of the first Black Panther was? 1 hour and 13 minutes, or 2 hours and 13 minutes?
2 hours and 14 minutes, yeah.
2 hours and 14 minutes. That means that this movie is going to be 27 minutes longer? 27 minutes longer than, or something like that. Maybe my math is wrong in my head. I got to think about that. But it's going to be significantly longer than the last Black Panther. And you're right, it does mean it is going to be the second longest MCU movie we've ever had. Let's put this into context by jumping over to the Campea Classroom. Okay, so the fifth longest movie they've done so far is Spider-Man No Way Home at 2 hours and 28 minutes. All right. The next longest one they did was Infinity War, which we thought, man, they can't do movies longer than this. But Infinity War at 2 hours and 29 minutes. So it was 1 minute longer than Spider-Man was. Then we had Eternals, which was 2 hours and 36 minutes, a very long 2 hours and 36 minutes. And then that puts us right into now what would be the second longest they've ever done, with Black Panther at 2 hours and 41 minutes. And of course, all that would fall just behind the culmination of 20 plus feature films or whatever with Avengers Endgame that culminated the Infinity Saga that they did. That puts Black Panther at 5 minutes longer than Eternals was. That was a long film. Now look, what is really interesting about this is that the Phase 4 movies have been short. Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, Thor, Love and Thunder, both clocking in right at about 2 hours. Maybe even 1 hour, 58 minutes or something along the stuff. So they have been on the shorter end of the spectrum so far. But with Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, it looks like they're swinging for the fences and they're getting closer to 3 hours than they are to 2. Depending, of course, on the accuracy of this information. This tells me a couple things. Number one, it tells me that as far as Kevin Feige is concerned, Ryan Coogler has a blank check. If Ryan Coogler says he wants more time to do whatever, it feels like Kevin Feige, and maybe by extension, Bob Chapek, who I think has probably mandated the shorter films more, but whatever. They're giving Ryan Coogler a lot more room to breathe and to do things with. I think number two, it kind of denotes the fact that they see this as an incredibly important film. And then obviously it is, coming on the heels of the passing of Chadwick Boseman and all that kind of stuff. And probably what for they might be setting up in the future, going back to the last topic, maybe mutants. I mean, who knows? But there's a lot of stuff they got to get into. They have to introduce us to this entire culture of Talocan as well on that level. So it tells us that as well. So, and it also tells us that Marvel isn't going to do one thing of movies. Like, just because Endgame ended up being three movies doesn't mean all their movies are going to be long. They came back out, the Doctor Strange, Thor, Love and Thunder, both movies, whatever you think of them, made a lot of money. They did when they were on the shorter end. Now they're coming back out and saying, well, we're not necessarily going shorter. Now here's a longer one. So I think there's a lot of interesting things here. Bottom line, though, for me, you know what I say? Shorter does not make a movie better, and shorter does not make a movie worse. Longer does not make a movie better, and longer does not make a movie worse. Every unique movie has a runtime that is right for it. There's no taking a great 90-minute movie and say, if you made it another hour longer, it would have been even better. No, it probably wouldn't have been. And if this movie, the right runtime for this movie is a little over 2.5 hours, then let it be a little over 2.5 hours. That's all I really take from that. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's episode, True Classic. This brand new sponsor has the absolute best fitting t-shirts that a man can buy. Finding the right t-shirt with a little bit of a dad bod is incredibly frustrating. Most t-shirts are either way too tight on your gut or look way too big and boxy. You're not in high school anymore, and it's time to upgrade. True Classic has already helped over 2 million men finally get a better fit at an affordable price. And the John Campea Show viewers and listeners get access to the best deal they offer. For a limited time only, get 25% off using the code CAMPEA at trueclassic.com. Look, you and I both know that almost all of men's t-shirts are designed to look good on skinny models with six-packs. But let's be honest, that's not most of us. True Classic tees taper off towards the bottom, but they fit tighter around the chest and shoulders. It's time to highlight your best attributes with a t-shirt that you can always confidently throw on. Like most of you guys, ever since college, I've always struggled to find proper fitting t-shirts that are comfortable. Well, True Classic, from the moment I put on the shirt they sent me, solves it. And True Classic doesn't just stop at tees. From polos and workout shirts with the same flattering fit. Upgrade your wardrobe with True Classic. Get 25% off at trueclassic.com with the promo code CAMPEA. Free shipping included on purchases over $100. 100% risk-free guarantee with a 30-day refund policy. Stay classy with True Classic. Your dad bod will thank you. But Rob, I mean, 2 hours, 41 minutes. This would be, out of their, what, 26 feature-length films?
This is the 30th.
This is the 30th now.
This is the 30th MCU movie.
The 30th MCU film. This will be the second longest they've ever done. What's your takeaway from that?
Well, I think this movie has a lot of heavy lifting to do. You know, like we've talked about, this movie is going to reset where the MCU is moving forward. You have an emergent underwater society that's being shown to us. That major player in the MCU, Namor, has always been a major, either he's an anti-hero or a major threat. You have a political system that's in peril in Wakanda because they've lost their Black Panther or something. And they've just emerged into the world, onto the world stage. I'm sure people are gunning for them. They've got all this technology. They got vibranium. There's all kinds of crazy political machinations behind what's going on with Wakanda, which I'm interested to see. Then they're going to have an enemy nation that probably is also as technologically advanced as they are. And we're caught in the crossfire. So there's a lot going on in this movie. At least in my mind, this should be almost as epic as Infinity War and Endgame are. I mean, I gotta say, I am hyped for this movie, and I've set myself up for severe disappointment. I admit that, but I think the lengthy running time gives me, it adds to my hype, man. In my personal hype meter, it's right up there. It's up at the top. It's gonna break through and go to 11. Spinal Tap it. This better be good. I mean, if it's not good, I'm going to be tremendously crushed. My entire holiday season for 2022 is going to be ruined. So come on, man. Make it good.
Christian, you're hearing this, apparently this reported runtime that we're not by the way, we have not got confirmation from Marvel or Disney that this is it, but it is coming from two major theater chains. Assuming that it's real, 2 hours, 41 minutes. What do you take away from that?
Well, it's funny, as you said before, like a lot of the Phase 4 movies have been shorter. Actually, I think there's like one more because that is shorter. Like No Way Home is part of Phase 4, right?
Yep.
And then what's the other? Then the Eternals is part of Phase 4.
Yeah.
So those two, and then with this one, that would be third. So you're like what, 3 and 3. So you're like, now this would set the balance if that is indeed the case. But I do think the reason why I don't think you should worry about your expectations is because Ryan Coogler right now has not let us down with anything. When it comes to Creed, Fruitvale Station, first Black Panther, and he overcomes major obstacles and loss as he's done in this movie. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's on. I mean, Chadwick Boseman was his friend, and he's just a passionate guy. And I think with 2 hours and 40 minutes, if it's Ryan Coogler, I'm normally sometimes very like skeptical about long movies, as you said, when it's the wrong person doing it, and it's sometimes I think those Transformer movies I think are too long, right? Like, and it's like
they're pummeling.
Yes. But Coogler doing a 2 hour, 40 minute with this and understanding that we've got to figure out how to introduce the fact that T'Challa is gone. And I don't know, I trust it because it's him. And I think you're going to get more of a story and just the footage that I've seen some footage at D23 that they showed, and it's powerful. It's powerful. So the whole movie can do that. Plus introduce this Namor thing that we were just talking about.
Yeah.
With the mutant story. Yeah, I think 240 can work. I always think 225 is the magic spot for me, depending on it. But I think 240 with Coogler at the helm, I'm all for it.
Yeah, and again, you never really know until you see the movie,
Right.
because we've all seen 90-minute movies that we thought, you know what, this actually could have used to be a little bit shorter. We've seen 2.5 hours movies that we felt, you know what, it feels like it could have been 10 or 15 minutes longer. So we'll figure that out when we get there. The other major thing that we've kind of glossed over here that Black Panther 2 has to accomplish is absolutely the establishment of an entire new civilization. They're the main antagonists of the film, all that kind of stuff. But they also have to deal with, they need a new Black Panther. And that's an entire storyline in and of itself.
Yeah.
So it seems like they have a lot. And so it's going to be interesting to see if Ryan Coogler can take these different things that have to be accomplished, a new antagonist, an entire new civilization, with the loss of T'Challa, establishing a new Black Panther. And is he going to be able to bring that and make one cohesive story out of it? You brought it up. If there's anybody who's going to be able to do that right now, it's Ryan Coogler. He's one of the best storytellers in the business right now.
And how important T'Challa was to him, and the way that they're going to absolutely, he's going to handle it with class. He's going to handle it in the right way. And they're not just going to there's going to be big action in this movie. There's going to be huge action, but it's not going to detract from the story that needs to be told. At least if you look at the previous work of what Coogler does, he's a brilliant storyteller.
John, too, I wanted to say something. There's been a lot of pushback since that Empire cover went online, that had, and a lot of people are complaining that, well, where's Namor? Why isn't the Namor that we know and love from the comics there? And I wanted to say, being that this is an adaptation, I've always been fascinated with like the Mayan culture that disappeared. Where did they go? And I think that when you're actually looking into the geopolitics of the world, that making this a Mesoamerican culture and setting this underwater nation, it feeds into, it puts a superhero culture in another part of the world. Because if Atlantis was somehow around Greece, or wherever it was going to be, what they've done is they've actually made the MCU world more interesting by using a different culture to base Namor on. So I'm really excited to see what they're doing. And as far as the MCU is concerned, I love the fact that now you have Central and South America as sort of the basis of, because I'm sure that they've got secret shipping. They probably got this entire, whatever is going on in all of South America, they're tied in. The Talocan culture probably is half running that continent.
By the way, I
can't wait.
I've never said this a lot out loud because I knew people are going to be really furious when I say it. But part of the reason why I'm really glad about the cultural, I mean, they didn't have to do a cultural shift with Namor and Atlanta. They didn't have to. But one of the really good things about that cultural shift is that if they had tried to bring Namor onto the big screen the way he looks in the comic books, it would have looked ridiculous. I know people are going to be mad when I say that, but I really thought they would have had to have done some adaptation of his look and his appearance, I think. But I love the look of Huerta as Namor. I think it looks great.
And I also have to say, when I was a kid, I was reading a lot of books like the Bermuda Triangle and the Outer Space Connection, and they talked about the lines like that if there were ancient aliens, not just in Egypt, but the Mayan culture and the Mayan calendar and all this, so they can tie the Talocan culture into the cosmic part of the MCU. I'm not going to say that's going to happen, but I'm like there for it. I'm there for it.
All right, guys. Question is for you. What do you think about this? The biggest movie theater chain in Canada and one of the biggest movie theater chains in the U.S., Regal and Cineplex, are both saying that the runtime for Black Panther 2 is 2 hours and 41 minutes, which makes it much longer than the first Black Panther and the second longest film they've done in the MCU other than Avengers Endgame. What do you think about that? What do you think that length could mean? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there.